best. Development program. Number one. Housing development program. It's number one and the best. Housing development program. Number one. Housing development program. In Nigeria. Housing development program. In Africa. Housing development program. And the globe. Number one. Housing development program.
Welcome to another informative episode of Housing Development. As humanity celebrates women on this year's International Women's Day on March 8th, it is important for us to celebrate many fabulous women for their impressive careers and achievement across the housing and mortgage sector. What challenges do women in the housing and construction industry face, and what risks is associated with their job? I will be speaking with some amazing women today, but first let's see what is trending in the housing sector on the Housing News Desk. As always, I am your housing diva, Flora Annie.
Urban Shelter Limited has emphasized the need for an end in the discrimination amongst women, which must be broken. Margaret Aigbe, the HR of Urban Shelter, made this known during the 2022 International Women's Day celebration with the campaign theme, Break the Bias, noting that the real estate firm is aimed at celebrating and recognizing women of the company on redefining the value and worth of women in various sectors.
Some certain positions in an organization or in government should not be limited to the male gender alone. The female, the women, they have a lot to offer in government, in private sector, and we're seeing that in Urban Shelter. Urban Shelter is 30 years and still counting.
Women and gender activist Mrs. Chizoba Mojeku called on the government to facilitate policies that promote sustainable equality for women and aids their participation and representation in government and various sectors of the economy.
Call on the National Assembly to take another look at those bills and all the gender bills that have been placed before them, and all the constitutional amendments that were being asked by the women. It makes economic sense. It makes sense to Nigeria, and I will call upon them to please take another look at it.
Coordinator of the Aliyu Trust Foundation and team members in partnership with Urban Shelter, Mrs. Amina Nasiru, in a bid to appreciate women, shared gifts of love on the streets to women, especially the vulnerable, noting why women must support women to curb the stigmatization on women who are not amply appreciated in the society. As part of efforts to curb incessant building collapse and unethical practices in the built industry, the president of the Nigerian Institute of Building, Builder, Professor Johanna Izam, during its 3rd anniversary commemoration of Builders Week, has re-emphasized the need for stakeholders in the industry to sustain the development of frameworks and regulations for building process control and urban development practices.
The objective for this year is for all the 36 state chapters and the National Council to create awareness on the need for stakeholders in Nigeria's building industry to sustain the development of frameworks that will create regulations and building control processes that we consider to have integrity.
Similarly, the representative of professional women builders in Nigeria, builder Mrs. Akinyoade Florence, said the 2022 Builders Week offers another avenue to stress the need for professionalism in the built industry, even as the immediate past vice chairman of the Council of Registered Builders of Nigeria, Builder Samson Opalua, restated the responsibilities of builders in the construction and built industry.
Engineer cannot manage everything. Engineer can only manage the structural aspect of it. That's what we are talking about. They refuse to bring all the team complete. The team supposed to be the team of engineers, the architects, the builders, and all these teams that are going to manage a set of projects. Builder is that professional
who has been adequately trained academically and professionally and registered with the Council of Registered Builders.
The construction industry is typically a male-dominated one and presents a major challenge for equal opportunity for women. The Nigerian construction sector has a particular low participation rate for women. But in recent years, it is clear that women are beginning to cut through the industry that was once only dominated by men. Women are hitting it hard on every sector of the economy. What are the roles and contributions of women internationally and nationally to the development of the housing and construction industry? What are the constraints, the barriers, and how can we break the barriers? Let's listen to this amazing woman who spoke as guest speakers at a one-day online conference organized by Africa International Housing Show to celebrate women.
I think fundamentally, I mean, it's good that we're talking about housing, but the challenges that women confront is way beyond housing. And so, I mean, biases exist literally everywhere, across every sector to start with, but actually across every stage of a woman's existence from when she's a girl child. The obvious thing for me is I always believe that the solutions have to lie within ourselves. So as we talk about, gender bias for what it is, what it is. I'm sure you all witnessed in Nigeria a couple of weeks ago what happened in the House. I mean, these are our representatives really voting us down. The truth is that the solutions have to lie and have to come from within ourselves. And while the biases exist, we have seen great women, and some of them on this platform, really break the glass ceiling. And those are the ones that we must challenge. And that includes all of us on this platform to make the difference. We have to create the opportunities. We have to literally go back to the girl child, and from then on begin to inculcate the ideas that while biases exist, we can all work through those biases and be everything that as a woman we are meant to be.
We need to think about how housing is acquired, and how housing is acquired is going to tell us for each way housing is acquired, what are the challenges that are specific to women. I can talk about one of them and get back to others as we go on in the conversation. And one of the ways housing and property in general is acquired is through inheritance. In many countries on our continent, traditions and sometimes even laws favor men over women. In many traditions, women are barred from inheriting land because it might go to their husbands and therefore to another family. In my own country, Morocco, women do inherit, but only half of what men receive, and that's in the law. Inheritance clearly discriminates against women, and it is a major cause of unequal access to home ownership, not just home ownership, but asset ownership, including home ownership. So as a result, women not only get a smaller share of property, but they can also become homeless in some cases when properties are not titled and that's not written in the law. For instance, when women become widows and the homes are taken by the siblings of the deceased. There are a number of ways women are discriminated against in access to property, and I would like to go over them when I'm given the floor again later in this conversation.
Of the school of thought that if you bring value to the table, you shoot the head, and you should be able to excel in whatever field you choose to play in. So a few years ago, I will tell you, I don't see any bias. But I know it exists. But what I tell the female colleagues that I work with is that yes, it exists, but pretend like it doesn't and do your best. And if you continue to deliver, people would tend to forget, you know, that you are female. And that has kept me in this industry. I keep telling them, I say, success has no gender. You know, excellent service delivery has no gender. And I think women should also strive hard not to play the female game, because that's fast expired. Now it's what you bring to the table. So that's the way I have over time been able to conquer that bias.
A woman that comes to mind in the centuries past is Octavia Hill, who contributed immensely into the housing sector in the United Kingdom. And women still continue to do that till today. Though bias exists, when you are able to deliver in the industry, yes, people begin to forget whether you're a woman or not, and you're able to deliver, but it still exists, and there is need for us to continue to speak about this and see how we can begin to deal with it. Generally, construction is seen as a man's job, and it's a bit dated in terms of it is our culture. It's a bit cultural. It's a mindset of people to think that, okay, when you're in construction industries, for men, it's a hard work, and women are a weaker vessel, so they cannot undo some things. So it becomes important for us to come out and support ourselves as women.
Bias is an expression of ignorance. We have bias because we don't have a broader sense of what the opportunities are, or the needs or the capacities of a particular group of people. And in this case, I think a key role that we all can play and must play and promote and advocate is to improve the data landscape that specifically recognizes and the role of women and disaggregates any metric that we collect, disaggregates that by gender. It's the housing challenge is a challenge that exists across the board. It impacts on both men and women and their families and so on. But the opportunity of focusing specifically on women is you create a smaller target market where you can have much more precise interventions that then leverage the capacities of the people that are being targeted. So better understanding women as the particular consumers of housing and how they engage and use the needs of housing, recognizing that their housing is both residential space as well as commercial space.
Welcome back. We need to have this crucial conversation about bias and injustice that our women experience. For the housing industry in particular, some finance institutions deny single women loans. In some cultures, widowed women are stripped of their matrimonial entitlements, including real estate. Likewise, single moms still face some kind of stigma when it comes to renting. Let's watch what Nigerians think of this on Voices on the Street.
In the building sector now, you don't usually see women doing the manual labor, except in some villages. I know I could give an instance of a village where you see the women doing the labor work, manual work, all those stuff. But in the city here, it's not rampant. Anyone happens to become a widow, which is too bad, I don't think there's any reason for such a person's property to be, the husband's property to be taken away from the person. I think people, family members should actually come to help that person. It is not, I don't support that at all. I do not support that. So if a woman happens to be a widow, the husband's property definitely should be hers, provided there are documents and all those stuff. I don't think those stuff should be taken away from the person at all.
In the construction sector, women are highly underrepresented. And I think it's majorly women are not interested most of the time, and because people are prejudiced and biased against using women in construction. But I believe that if women can go to construction and do a thorough job, they will do a better job than men. But right now, unfortunately, they are highly underrepresented. I'm really not familiar with what government is doing concerning widows and all that. But what I do tell people as a preacher of the gospel, I tell widows, don't be a victim. You can, before your husband dies, for instance, now as a husband, my wife has access to everything I have. My wife is my next of kin. He has everything. There's no single human being anywhere in the world, dead or alive, that can take anything from my wife.
A woman's a dream should end in the home. They are not expected to explore, to express themselves, irrespective of the exposure, educational exposure and everything, the knowledge, the idea they've acquired. They don't want them to bring it out. So they believe a woman should be in the house. So they are not highly represented in the government. I don't think the government has really done much on that. It's only few individuals and some non-governmental organizations that have tried to take it up, fighting and helping them retrieve their things.
Yeah, in the construction industry, if I have to rate 5 to 5, I will rate probably 2.5, or maybe, yeah. I don't think it's this. We need more women in the construction housing industry, right? Yeah. So we need more women there. So they said we don't have too many women contractors, and when I go to site places, I don't see many women doing tiling or painting. They're very few. Probably at least 1%. I would say no, we need more policies in that regard that protect the interests of a widow or a man or woman. And also as a man, first of all, let's talk about government policies in regards to women who own homes and protection for women who actually lost maybe their husbands, and you see family members comes to fighting over properties, land, things like that. I think also the government need to do more to have more laws in that regard.
Yeah, we have many there. Though many of them have this kind of fear that maybe they fall down, but the professional one. In fact, I have a daughter going for civil building something now, which I encourage. It's not my biological daughter, but I think being a woman, I have to help her.
They felt that women don't have the strength. We are just good in kitchen. The government have not done much because Nigeria feel that is a tradition. As soon as the woman lost her husband, yes, the family, they have right to come and take one or two things. No, it is not done that way. Nigeria women are really suffering. They are really suffering in times of in marriage. They are really suffering. So Nigeria government should do something for us.
Welcome back. You're watching Housing Development. Without any doubt, real estate is also one of the best careers for women who want to constantly learn new skills and be financially independent. In this field, you always need to keep yourself up to date and learn something new about the business on a daily basis. If you want a career that will force you to stay on your toes and push forward, well, it's real estate. Let's take a listen to these fabulous women who, against all odds, are doing great things in the real estate sector.
I think the issue is to go back to the root cause and grassroots, the foundation, the cause of why most women are failing to access housing. And if you look at the landscape, you will note that a lot of women are not economically empowered. And for Africa, by and large, it has to do with culture, religion, and tradition. So the girl child in the home is primarily viewed as someone to take care and maintain the home. And perhaps the ultimate goal is to get married. And I think this has to begin to change. The narrative needs to change. And I think there needs to be deliberate policy that needs to be done to make sure that the girl child is able to go through, get an education, be economically empowered, and at a later time be able to own her own home. So for me, I think it's going back to the foundation and repairing what has gone wrong.
Land acquisition is very difficult. Getting finance to roll out houses is equally difficult. So the government has put in place, the Ministry of Works and Housing is putting in place to acquire land banks so that it will be easier for women to acquire lands, because acquiring lands in our part of the world is very cumbersome, being sold to multiple buyers and all that. We are putting together a system, a mortgage system, where women can source for funding when they want to venture into the built industry. We are also looking at the kind of technology that women can use to make to build affordable houses that will make it easy and affordable for people to acquire. So yes, government is giving women the opportunity, because there are very few women who have ventured into the built industry. They are given opportunities to source funding. They are given the opportunity to source funding from the mortgage banks. We have put a system in place with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, where women are given the opportunity to also have some rebates when they want to bring down equipment for the housing industry. So we have a tax holiday, you have 5-year tax holiday, you have tax rebates on your equipment and all that, just to facilitate that provision for women's participation in the built industry. So the government is making all efforts. We have a housing deficit of about 2 million. We are making sure that we'll bridge a housing deficit gap by venturing into rural housing. So what the Ministry of Works and Housing currently is doing is acquiring land banks also in the rural communities, where women will get involved across the value chain. You get women selling water, you get women building blocks, you get women doing all other parts what the men can also do. So it's a male-dominated area. The only thing the government can do to entice women to venture into it is to create an enabling environment by way of resourcing, by way of funding, by way of training, by way of encouraging more women to participate in the housing industry.
We needed to provide women with equal opportunity with men to be able to apply for housing and finalize all the procedure until they can get their final contracts. We had shortage of housing supply. So we established first a program with the banks, but we didn't have enough housing supply so that the beneficiaries we are targeting can finance through the banks. So we had to also build units. So we had a mandate by the president of the country to build 1 million units in those years from 2014 until 2024. So by now we have finished around 560,000 new units, both in new cities and and inside all cities. And those houses were all offered to the poor households. And by poor households, we have definitions by income bracket, and we have a different subsidy offered to each type of household. We wanted from the very beginning to provide the women with the equal opportunities to be able to apply also like the others. And this was part of a loan agreement done with the World Bank. It included conditions that we will provide gender equality opportunities in order to be able to make use of this World Bank loan. These were among the conditions. We use this loan to provide upfront subsidies to all households in need, whether women or men.
The housing show is important to us because the budget market is good for our plaster of Paris and plasterboard market, and for us what the intention of being here is to just expose the company to as many people as we can.
The role it plays for our business
and how we've experienced its impacts is why we've come again and again and again.
It's an opportunity for us to meet prospective clients and also advise people on housing and tell them about our product.
Oh, it's been a fantastic one so far. This is now our second time here. We're here last year, and every time we come, we've seen that there's been value that's been added to our business.
It's an avenue I want everybody that is in the built environment to explore. It is a place you can network, and then you can showcase what you can do.
For us, it was a success. Extremely happy to be here. Extremely happy about the agenda. Centric on affordable housing.
It's a platform for us to share ideas. It's a platform for us to take something back home. So basically, it's a good platform for the housing industry.
This is not our first time. We have been part of this program since 2012, and it has been so amazing.
Well, so far has been encouraging and interesting. It's not just by the quantity, but it's by the quality.
I heard over the media that there will be a show of this form, this week. So I just decided to walk in and see what is happening, So I just came in. I'm really impressed. I saw some products.
Oh, we've been at Abuja International Housing Show from the beginning. So this is 15 years, and so we've been partners in this, yes.
Brought a lot of exposure to the company. I want to appreciate the Abuja Housing Show and want to tell you guys to continue doing what you're doing.
The good thing is the partnership that the Abuja International Housing Show helps to create. It what makes all of this sensible.
Abuja International Housing Show is a networking event basically for me, where people from different fields in the construction and building industry can come around and meet each other, network.
Events like this will actually go a long way in ensuring that the gap is bridged, and that will really go a long way to also help economic development.
Remember, the most important thing we can do is to support each other as women. When women support each other, incredible things happen. The men should also learn to support the women because they are your mothers, sisters, wives and daughters. Let's help create a more gender-balanced world and break the bias. On that note, I call it a wrap on today's edition of Housing Development. Thanks for watching. If you miss any part of today's edition, you can watch it via the YouTube channel Housing TV Africa. I remain your housing diva, Flora Ani.
what I do for them. That is not still I'm on the rubbish. That is part of the house. I did not shout to this video, not answer me. Carry all those things out. Carry that bag of don't let this boy fall. Go and stay for them. Go and stay for them. Don't let that boy fall. Mayo, oh yeah, drop that thing, enter here. Do that thing. Is that our own rubber?